Hello everybody, and welcome to the LJL officially unofficial cast. I am your host, Alex, otherwise known as Lexi. I go by Master1 on the internet, and I'm joined by the unmatched duo of the Hapgood brothers, Initialized and Nightmare. Oh, the fist bump. The fist bump's going.
Sorry, buddy.
God, it was just
Sorry,
hanging.
Well,
We like some nerd cringe over here. Okay, that's good. Introduce yourselves, I guess.
Well, I tried to there, but actually I've just been, my senpai didn't notice me,
Oh.
everything's going wrong.
Oh.
Let me just say, it's been a
God,
bad
weeds.
morning for me. I didn't have enough milk for my cereal, my shower went cold, I've got a pimple on my face, my brother just ignored my fist bump. But you know what's here to turn it around? Some League of Legends!
That's great. Was it as bad as Ebby and Steele's monstrous high five fist bump?
Oh god, that
again,
was.
Rock paper scissors thing.
I don't think we can ever
Quite
stoop
reach
that
that.
Were
low.
you guys
Yeah,
trying to
that's
match
correct.
that, maybe? Were you going to try and equal
No,
the glory that is Ebby and Steel?
You said unmatched.
That's
We
exactly
just took
it.
it. We took it the other way.
Yeah, we took it very literally, so we didn't match. That was it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, we have done 7 weeks of casting, hosting, podcasting, and everything else, and we have led ourselves all the way to here for the tiebreaker match. We still have that final playoff spot to make it into the LJL Spring Split Playoffs. And we are going to be seeing a match between Burning Core and Crest Gaming Act. What a setup for these final two. I'm honestly just so surprised that we've even gotten to a playoff spot, to be honest. A tiebreaker match for playoffs. And remember, Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks are the only team currently that have sadly not made playoffs. So that is a little bit of a sting.
It's sad for them, and it will be sad for the team that does come out the loser today. But look at us, how did we get here, man? We were talking about, 7 weeks of casting, 7 weeks of games. Both of these teams have been, I believe, holding a second place spot at some point this
They both
split.
have, yeah.
They are now vying for 6th and 7th. This is how competitive and how tumultuous the league can be. It's like having that mid-air turbulence where you're in the plane. It's like, well, we might drop down to 6th for a bit. But we'll see how
We
it
might.
goes. We might do that. So yeah, we have ourselves a hell of a game between two teams which we know can turn it on.
Yeah, these teams have definitely been part of Hell's elevator, that's for sure, jumping up and down the floors, like they've been jumping up and down the standings. And we've seen both teams look really good. We've seen both teams look a little bit shaky. Even yesterday, right? Crest Gaming went
0-2.
0-2.
Yeah.
And even within those two losses, from what I could see, they looked pretty competitive at points, right? They weren't like walkovers.
I think that's fair to say. I think that Adia had a good game on his Azir. He had the Akali as well, which very nearly turned around some very key fights for them against V3 as well. But, Arya didn't 1v9. He didn't carry both games to their completion, so it didn't quite end up in any wins.
No, and we're at a spot now where you can't really 1v9 now. This isn't the first few weeks where it is still solo queue style. Teams have learned how to gel with each other, and we saw that lovely story of a team gelling together in our 5th place team of Axis, which is a team that started off 0-4 till they got their first win. And now they've a locked playoff spot. That is so beautiful to see them when they locked that up. That win meant so much. You saw the team and the members of the management coming out and really congratulating them with them as well.
Yeah. Sorry you couldn't be here to
I
finish
know.
off the regular split with us Initialized, but we do get to finish off technically the regular split with the tiebreaker here.
The bonus game.
The bonus
This
game.
is our bonus round, like you're in a Sonic zone.
This is like overtime on the 5th map, and this is just gonna be a little bit crazy because the first time we saw these two teams face off, just everything went off. We saw Quadra kill come out from Arya. We saw Draven picked up by Gango. It was all round an absolute barnstormer.
It really, really was. I think Arya on LeBlanc as well. There was just this kind of, I don't know, some of the best performances we've seen out of individuals in this league, particularly from Gango, from Arya. And I'm curious to see whether they can pull it out again. On the other side, Burning Core have had some pretty brilliant moments themselves. Once in particular comes to mind as someone who's had some really standout individual performances. His early games, particularly on Lee Sin, on Xin Zhao, have been
Scary.
pretty destructive.
Scary,
You know,
yeah.
he has single-handedly won them games. He's also single-handedly thrown them away in some ways. So we'll have to see.
I mean, these are two teams where they've gone 1-1 against each other, and the games were basically polar opposites either way. You had that amazing game that you were already hinting to, where Gango and Arya basically just solo ran over the side of Burning Core, and then on the opposite end, you had the side of Once and Ray Farki and Yuhi basically doing the opposite to Crest. So this is a very hard game to call, and because the teams have been so hot and cold in some of their matches, it really does raise you a lot of question marks. Where do you think this game is going to be won? Is it going to be a jungle diff game? Is this a bot lane game? I mean, top lane and mid lane, you argue or go, well, you say Ray Farki takes top lane and Arya takes mid, but where does the rest of it go? What happens? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, it's not just necessarily nowadays about who takes it in the early game as well, because we've seen that even coming into team fights with leads from certain roles doesn't necessarily transfer itself to a team fight win. We saw Arya pick up his Silas versus Rascal Jester and go ridiculous in that game. He picked up a Magi's. He was doing the Lord's work, and he just got shot down in one team fight and ended up losing the game. And then we saw on his Akali, even though he didn't affect the game early enough against V3, not yet, well, yesterday for us, but in the last week of play, and then he just couldn't carry the team fights hard enough. Even on the Azir, he couldn't scale hard enough, so they're really finding it hard to find him that perfect 1v9 champion.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to play League of Legends in competitive play. You're not meant to 1v9.
Well,
I think that's the
been
point.
Doing it a lot of the split, and they're trying to fall back to it.
Well,
so they're trying to do that.
5 games they did it.
But to echo that a little bit,
we're actually into pick and ban phase, so I will now be departing from you, gentlemen, as this tiebreaker match goes off. Good luck to both these teams.
All right, well, maybe I'll finish my point as we come in a little later then. So Crest Gaming Act will be on the blue side today for this tiebreaker match. It'll be Nap in the top lane, Yoshi in the jungle, Arya down in mid lane, and then Gango and Grendel as that bot lane.
And the contenders, rivals on the red side of the rift, are Burning Core. Ray Farki, the man, myth, legend, in the top lane. Once in the jungle, Rocky in the mid lane, Yuhi and Proud in bot.
It is, and we've seen some bans come through already. It's Elise, it's Yuumi, it's LeBlanc and Zoe off the table at the moment.
As Darius banned as well. Okay,
they can't be dealing with Ray Farki having that. And like for CGA specifically, I need to see someone like Gango or Nap step up a little. It needs to not be Arya 1v9ing. A 2v8 might be a little bit more manageable.
And it was that for the earlier weeks, where Gango was picking up his Senna, his Aphelios. He was really doing a lot of work at those. Arya has legitimately 1v9, we'll keep using that term throughout the broadcast, on stuff like Zoe and LeBlanc. The Ornn's the last ban away from Burning Core, rounding out their trio of bans, Set being the first pick for CGA.
Yeah, and Set has had a pretty stellar worldwide performance. I think I mentioned it before. He's on something like a 75-odd win rate over in NALCS. But we're looking over at Burning Core, and they've gone towards Aphelios, which has been Yuhi's best champion, and Once has been onto his 1v9 early game monstrous performance champion of the Lee Sin. CGA, though, have responded with a Xayah, and they're going to go towards the Rakan by the looks of it as well.
So, fun stat about Xayah. Only been played the 3 times in LJL. It is 2 and 1. I think it was played by Axes twice, and it's been played once by one other team. I think that was Archer on V3. So it is the Lovers duo locked in for CGA very quickly as well, very decisive about that. This is an AD carry which scales very well, so it is against the Aphelios, which also scales very well, but does have the self-peeling ability. Speaking of scaling though, Gangplank locked in for Burning Core.
Yeah, Gangplank definitely has room to blow open team fights, and it doesn't surprise me that that's locked in alongside something like an Aphelios as well, which is hardly a weak champion in team fights either.
True, and Once when he's on form is another pretty teamfight monstrosity on the Lee Sin. We're seeing some bans come through. CGA taking a little bit of time. Is the Akali banned away from Arya already?
He had a good game on that yesterday, so I'm not entirely surprised to see that banned away off recent performance either.
But the thing is that with the Akali, it doesn't come online that early, and maybe they're just worried about Rocky in the mid lane. Maybe they think it's a bad matchup. They don't want to put him under the kill pressure from the assassin in the mid lane, which would, the likes of LeBlanc already removed as well. So that was just one of these other all-in champions that has been removed.
I am actually slightly surprised to see Burning Core ban away the LeBlanc Blanc and Zoe. Those two have been Rocky's.
Well, they would have first picked them. For
Well,
CJ.
exactly. That's the problem, right? Because they're Rocky's probably most comfortable champions, but you can't give those over to Ari. You really can't. So I'm curious to see what he goes with. They banned the Echo last up there alongside Burning Core, and Syndra is their last ban on CGA side.
Okay, so Silas is a shared champion between them, which hasn't been picked yet. It could be picked for either team. I believe Burning Core will leave mid lane counter pick till last. They do have to pick up their support as well. Nautilus is available, which is okay into the Rakan. Could also be a Morgana. That is a typical Rakan counter pick and does pretty well into the Rakan as well.
Whoa,
It's gonna be
Bard
fun.
locked in.
All right, so Proud did have one game of this way back when in week 1, I believe. I believe it was his second game of the day over against Rascal Jesters. We have that on VOD somewhere. It is a risky pick. You sometimes don't bring as much to a team fight as you would like to as the Bard, but it is another somewhat mage support against the Xayah and the Rakan. You can force out the Xayah ult with the Tempered Fate.
Yeah, and that is going to be something to keep your eyes on. If you don't want to take a risk now, then when on earth will you? I can understand that thinking, and the Vladimir is locked in for CGA. It's still flexible. We've seen Arya win a game on the Vladimir, went for a solo kill on a Kale into a Baron steal in a matter of moments, and won CGA a pretty tumultuous game versus Sengoku Gaming. The last pick will be the Jarvan for CGA. Good pick in the jungle, lots of engage, lots of wombo combo to join up with that hyperscaling Vladimir.
Indeed. So this is all team fight from CGA, whereas Burning Core locking in the Victor, so they are all scaling in a lot of regards. This Victor will scale it very nicely in the mid lane, but I'm not sure it particularly outscales a Vladimir, if I'm particularly honest. There's a lot of wave clear available from Burning Core. They will be able to sit at their turrets and clear out with barrels, with death lasers, and with Aphelios' various forms of wave clear from all of his menagerie of weapons.
The only thing I have to be aware of is that Vladimir will be looking at these champions on the side of Burning Core and thinking these are lots of squishy people that a Tides of Blood could swiftly wash away.
We could very easily see this Vladimir wipe a team fight if the wards are not in place from Burning Core to scout out flanks and the like of that as well. One thing which I'm a little surprised about is that Senna has not been prioritized at all in this draft. Senna has been such a prominent pick in the LJL. CGA very quickly locked in the Xayah Rakan in the first round of picks for them, picks 2 and 3. We have the full drafts now. This is the tiebreaker, as we've been saying. This determines your playoff fate. We see a little bit of old, a little bit of new from both teams.
Indeed we do, and we've got so much to play for. It is this tiebreaker match between CGA, between Burning Core. We've got two quite different team comps in some ways. Where are you seeing the advantages? Where are you seeing our early parts of the game playing out?
I think that Victor's going to take a while to come online, but that's not going to be the same for Gangplank. Gangplank does have a nice laning phase into set, and who better to pilot that champion than Rayfaki, arguably our best Gangplank in the league. We have seen consistently over this split. We also see early pressure from the Lee Sin, so I think that Nap needs to keep an eye over his back and just see if they can scout out the early path from the Lee Sin. That would go a long way into securing this early game, particularly for the top side of the map.
And we've mentioned Vladimir's ability to potentially delete some of the squishier members on Burning Core. When I say some of them, most
All
of them. Because there's not a true tank on the side of Burning Core, and that could end up being a weakness as this game goes on. But we are onto the Rift, and we are into this tiebreaker match to decide our final playoff spot. I think this game is going to be a little bit tense.
Well, I'm starting to feel the nerves,
I
man.
know, right? We're just casting.
We're
We're a long way away. We're like,
Oh,
what, 8 hours away?
It's an 8-hour in time zone, many miles as well. I've got the flutters in my chest slightly. We see the runes on the scoreboard there. I guess the only thing which is slightly different, well, the one thing we should talk about is that there's the press the attack onto Yuhi. We see a number of runes. On the Aphelios, we sometimes see Conqueror, sometimes see Lethal Tempo. It is the press the attack, slightly more bursty when you're not against a tank support.
And Xayah's gone towards that slightly...
and it's Guardian on Bard as well.
Yes, Guardian on Bard. Now, that's an interesting one, actually. I know you normally see a little bit more of an aggressive...
I mean,
we've
we've seen Omnistone.
Yeah, we have seen Omnistone. And actually, you were mentioning before as well, speaking about warding off the flanks on the side of CGA to avoid Proud finding their way onto the backline and finding some interesting angles. Can be quite hard to do that against a Lee Sin and a Bard who have magical journeys and ward hops to get in and around people's ward lines. Could end up being a little bit difficult to keep track of.
I think it's mainly CGA that will want to start flanking this fight. They do have the set and they have the Vladimir. They kind of lend themselves more to the split-up, multi-angled fight rather than the likes of your Victor, the Aphelios, and the Gangplank as well. They do like things to be grouped up in one position, over in one angle, one axis that they can kind of fire down.
They're not in this game.
They're not in this game. I don't know why I said that. I was like, oh, it's a line. That's a word. We see that the first, laning phase has just opened up here. This Zyra Khan has the priority on the wave right now. Going to hit level 2 after these next 3 melee minions going down. Once is on this side of the map, but he won't. He's gone for he went from red into blue. I think he's doing Gromp as well now, so he will be down on here, able to impact this side of the map.
Yoshi won't be so far behind them. He's in a blue clear, but he's going to be around. But Yuji takes a big trade there from a decent ground entrance from the side of Grendel. Yoshi is on a ward, but does sweep it out.
Does sweep it out. Went back for the early sweeper. It's something you tend to do on every jungler, which isn't Lee Sin, actually. Lee Sin loves to have that trinket ward for the ward hop, gives him that extra mobility. Other junglers can place that ward at level 1, go back to base, switch out for the trinket, and then get a little bit of extra vision denial on the map early into the game.
Yeah, it can be very powerful. Useful in your gank as well. Just walk in, see whether you're on vision or not. And so you can at least be doing something useful even if the gank doesn't plan out. And it stops you from standing around the bush not knowing what's going on. But Yoshi is down here. Already at this bot lane, going to be wandering into the blue side of Burning Call quite early on.
It will be. However, bot lane pressure is going the way of CGA right now. That means that Yoshi will be taking the bot lane Scuttle Crab. There's no top lane camps for once to take on the other side of the map as well. He's going to be taking the Scuttle just the same. One of the consequences of this is that this Bard won't be able to leave lane and get a lot of meeps. Not meeps, the chimes, which do give him the extra meeps and the extra XP as well. It's one of the reasons he is such a good roaming support. He does get that extra kind of buffer and XP from roaming around the map. But yeah, Proud not going to be able to quickly get those in this game.
No, and it is pretty much dead even across the board. It's a CSL2 either way, and
Once
so far it's
actually
been close, but I don't think Once going to keep it that way. Finds a good Q onto Arya, but of course a Sanguine Pool means that comes to nothing but a health bar trade, and a health bar trade versus Vladimir is very swiftly topped up with a little bit of gifted blood.
It is indeed. Make a donation to your local vampire. It's very important in these trying times.
Rocky decided the donation was in fact lasers.
Yeah, lasers, that's it. He doesn't understand what they were asking for. Like, he's in the medical profession, he's a laser eye surgeon.
Exactly.
He's like, I'll
He's walked into the wrong department, he thinks he's in the blood transfusion. He's gone for a blood transfusion. He's actually got himself laser eye surgery.
He has, and it does burn out a couple of retinas there.
Do you think Vladimir actually has more trouble versus something like Rocky and his lasers? Because it's getting towards probably a UV ray, isn't it? And vampires and sunlight, such a bad mix. Is that why? Do you think he does extra damage?
That's a bit of a reach, but I see where you're coming from.
Is it though? Is it? Yeah, but my color cast.
I'm struggling to theory crest that. However, we have ourselves a pretty back and forth laning phase. No one is finding a massive advantage. There are slight advantages coming across in the top and bottom lane. It is a 10 CS lead for Nap as he's pushing in the top lane. As that wave evens out, probably be more the likes of 5. We did say that Wraithvark is one of our better gangplanks, maybe the best gangplank in the LJL. Nap has been a stalwart in the top lane as well, though. He's going to reset now for his first pack of the game on 37 CS. He buys himself up the Tabby, that extra kiting potential, and of course the extra defense against all those parlay spams. Once has found Yoshi in the jungle, though.
He's here with Grendel, but Proud is around the corner as well, just looking to be harassing this Lee Sin. Yoshi will almost inevitably have an easier time executing in team fights than this Lee Sin, especially if the Lee Sin doesn't get rolling. Of course, there is always the opportunity of something like an Insect, which does offer the Lee Sin a little bit more engaged, but they're still fighting over this Gromp.
There's a smite available, but there is ones who lands the Sonic Wave.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough early, and that does mean that the Gromp does go over. That's quite a lot of early experience, actually, and Yoshi will be on his way to level 6 pretty fast into this game.
So he does have the 1 camp lead right now. We see the Twitter poll come out. We are slightly active in the Twitter sphere. Obviously, I don't read Japanese myself, but I love to see all the emotes coming across from the various fans. This time it's going to be CGA picking up the fan vote, 61% to 39.
Yeah, and in some ways, I understand. Even in their losses, people like Arya have looked pretty damn good, and you can see why you would focus or give a slight advantage to CJ. I think I probably do as well, but it's not enough of an advantage for me to say this is clearly going to be a CGA victory.
Oh, for sure. And, they've had a bad end to the split. They're on a pretty huge loss streak. Actually, Ari managing to stop the reset from Rocky, that's pretty big. Does mean that he won't be able to back on this wave and get himself the Hex Core. Does have himself a tiny bit of a CS lead, but after this wave evens out, it will be less so.
Oh, Once is here to come and
He's
try
trying
and
to
help
push
us,
it
but
in.
Yoshi's
That's the
here
thing.
as well.
There's a level 6 here from
Oh,
Aria.
he is here, and there's a level 6 from the side of
Proud's
the
round
Victor
up.
as well. I didn't think he had enough mana, but he did just about. Proud is here. The Cataclysm, rather. The Cannon Barrage is down, and that means that the side of CGA forced back. No first blood. It is Flash Burn from Yoshi. But
It's
it's
2 ults for a
lots
flash.
of ultimates down from Burning Core, yes.
Yeah, there's 2 ults for a flash. Yoshi gets out. I mean, the flash on J4 is nice. It does allow you to do the flash knockup, flash cataclysm, all sorts of stuff. But not having the death ray, the Chaos Storm from the Victor, I play that champion, I should know that, means that the kill pressure onto this Vladimir is now significantly lower. Same can be said for the Cannon Barrage, means that these 2v2s, which are going the way of Gango and Grendel compared to Yuhi and Proud, are going to be harder to break open from the side of Burning Core.
Yeah, and as a note as well, it's not a teleport on Victor, which is one of those kind of very commonly seen summoners on that champion. It's actually gone towards the heel, interestingly.
He is. That is right for you to point that out. You kind of want that combat summoner against the Vladimir because he has that ability to all-in you from 1+ items, let's be honest. Particularly when it's out here as well, very mechanically proficient, knows his damage limits. You do want to be giving yourself a little bit of leeway.
So this might be my dumb and slightly bloodthirsty brain, but I would have thought that something like an Ignite would be a really good summoner versus the Vladimir to kind of cut down his healing.
But the whole idea is you want to survive, not like...
Try and kill him.
Yeah,
okay.
there are a lot more ways which Vladimir can kill you than you can kill him.
So you're better off trying to survive and wait for team fights.
Yeah,
Okay.
you scale well as the Victor anyway, and you do have a lot of people trying to dive on you this game. Jarvan, as we said, Set, as we said, and it will help you kind of dive onto, well, do some damage to yourself, a la double lift. Victor versus the AD carry, try and blow up Gango in this game.
Indeed. So my bloodthirst has been quenched. My question has been solved for now. Arias won't have been. He is going to be looking for blood throughout. This game has already himself up
It's
to
an objective trade
the
as well.
20% CDR with the Fiendish Codice and the Kittle Gem, and it will be an objective trade here. CGA go for this Mountain Drake as Once continues up on this Herald.
So it's an early trade of objectives. Bot lane pressure, as we said, going the way of Gango and Grendel. So this will probably be going towards the top lane as Nap has just reset. Yoshi finding a crescendum turret of Yuhi, who takes half of his HP with all the turret stacks, and then also the extra little sniper shot coming out of Yuhi there. There's still going to be plates going down on the bot side. Once has found himself into the top lane.
They're
might
still
look
thinking
towards
about a
mid,
dive, but considering
I don't
Yoshi's
think
fairly
he
low, he
wants
could
to.
be in trouble. If he gets bound here, he could be in a bit of trouble. No, the binding
fine.
doesn't come
Yeah.
out from Proud, so Yoshi gets the flag and drag away, and he is just fine.
He is for now. Once is not on this side of the map as well, so Yoshi going to go for a blue steal. He is pretty low health, like you were saying, and Victor does have the Chaos Storm back available, but I think without Once on this side of the map, they don't want to be brawling thus far. Yoshi has found himself at a slight camp advantage towards, against Once, who is also at level 6 now as well, so at least it's not a level discrepancy. Neither of them have also completed their first jungle item either.
Yeah, and we were sort of mentioning about that bot lane discrepancy a bit. Look at those items. It's a pickaxe to a BF sword plus a cull. So it's not even like the cull in a space where you're doing less damage. The BF sword advantage is already there. May as well double down with a bit of additional free gold on top of it.
Well, I think that cull is a hugely underrated item for AD carries. If you do have the extra gold in inventory, when you go for a back, it just allows you to just get to your next crit item that much sooner, right? It doesn't give you, it gives you the extra lifesteal on hit as well, the extra 3 life. Aria just walking forward to the blood rush, the crimson rush rather, of the empowered transfusion onto Rocky.
Yeah, and that empowered transfusion does a lot more damage than you think it does, especially as towards Aria hits level 9, which is, I believe, is that break point for Vladimir.
Yeah, you start healing up a lot with this amount of CDR. When he hits level 10 as well, he'll get the Transcendent CDR, so he'll have 30% CDR, and then almost 40% from the scaling CDR from your stat runes as well.
And so much of Vladimir's kind of utility damage scaling is ironically actually in his cooldowns and levels rather than necessarily strictly his items. So the fact that he has got that CDR so early on, has got these levels already here without much contest, a couple of ganks have gone towards the mid lane to no real effect, means this Vladimir will be very much online for the first real team fight. which I imagine may well be around our next Drake. It's difficult
Do
to
as
call,
well.
though, because both these teams feel pretty content to scale up in some ways.
Does. And Gango is going to be scaling up on the Zyra as well. They've got himself 2 plates there, a level advantage, and also the team as a whole
they're
getting a
going
K
in on
advantage.
Arya.
Oh, that's Hema plate gone
It
down.
is, but he's going to be stuck under this gravity well, does get out of it, but remember the Rift Herald is here.
Oh,
Grendel's
dive.
coming in. That Tampered Fate was a little late, means that Nap gets
Oof.
in here without being stunned up. First blood over to Jarvan after the face breaker comes through. Proud does flash out.
Oh,
But wait,
no,
there's
they're
a
caught
big-
behind enemy lines now.
They are. Grendel is very low. There's going to be the second teleport channeled and be Arya here as well. But remember, he has no Hemo Plague. Nap's going forward for Face Breaker. He isn't afraid at all. Forced the flash out of Rocky. Burning Core had the collapse, but really, did they want it?
Well, whether they wanted it or not, it did go in the favor of CGA. Yuhi dying under his turret, or just beneath it, well, just above it, really. He's going to lose himself another wave, going to lose more farm. Gango is going to be very much the stronger AD carry, very close to popping his cull as well. Advantage CGA in this early game.
They're getting so much damage onto this
Sticking
tower. They're going to
around
try
as
and
well.
push him out. I want to point out I called the Tempered Fate as late. It really should have been said as early because he was trying to stop the teleport in and just came out
the
a
ult
little bit
coming
late.
in for
That is a
Yuhi.
massive amount of damage. Not enough though.
Okay.
Ouch!
Yep.
But they do get away. And yeah, look at the Tempered Fate here. On you think he just timed it slightly wrong.
He's trying to teleport. Well, stop the Nap coming in so early. Obviously, he does come in, uses the showstopper to pin Yuhi against the wall on the Aphelios there. The Cataclysm used by Yoshi as well to force the flash out of Proud. But then they are kind of stuck here, which does mean that Arya is forced to TP. So that's one of the globals going out of the pocket of CJ at the end of this. We do see, of course, the flash wave from Rocky there at the end, away from the very quick flash face breaker from Nap on the set.
Yes, and that means that the Rift Herald summoned in the bot lane did bring down 2.5 odd plates down there.
There's a
but-
40 CS lead too.
But it is a 40 CS lead. It does at least keep Yuhi in the game rather than he's behind 1,000 gold rather than 1,500. But that's still behind 1,000 gold.
That absolutely is, yeah.
And it's starting to look a touch scary for Burning Core in this early game when their bot lane is currently getting a bit run over. This Bard pick isn't really working out right now.
Not for the moment. It does have some teamfight application, though. As we said, the Tempered Fate didn't work out in that last little engagement, but it does have some big abilities to set up for the rest of the team. If you manage to set up a Bard ult and then wait for a barrel to come through, or something the likes of Yuhi putting down his turret or anything else like that, it can turn a fight pretty quickly. He doesn't have the full electrocute build, like we're saying. He's not as bursty as we have seen previous Bards be, but he's still going to have some ability to affect team fights.
Okay, well, it's all well and good, but I'm called about potential first team fight being around this Ocean Drake, and it's looking like we might finally have one, because Arya's here, throws down the Hemo Plague. He's going to get stopped up by the gravity. Well, no, it's a big Hemo Plague indeed onto you. He does a lot of damage in return, though. Exhausted
Gango's
now,
here!
But Gango is here. Yoshi's in the backline as well, and Rocky is already getting destroyed. The Aphelios died as an afterthought to the poke in from some of the rest of CGA, and that's now 4-0 on this board. They got a double kill there onto their Jarvan. They get the Ocean Drake as well, and they are 4,000 gold in the lead.
Welcome back, Gango as well, flashing forward for the kill onto Yuhi, really just asserting the AD carry dominance here. It's going to be first kill onto tower in the bot lane at the end of this play as well. So we see the Ocean Drake being started up rather brazenly by Burning Core. They don't have GP with his teleport, and the set is closer to the fight as well. Arya chooses to go pretty aggressive with the Proto Belt, and the Hemo play gets a lot of early damage onto both Once and Yuhi. Gango, as we said, flashing forwards, and then Grendel there for the follow-up CC. Cataclysm committed on the other side of the fight. It's a good fight on both sides of it for CJ. It's not just the AD carry fight, which goes well. Of course, Yoshi ends up soloing out another person too.
Yeah, the fact that you could sort of battle down such a long way to Zaya, who'd flashed forward and then grand entrance beyond it, there was no way out for Yuhi there, who got chunked out by the Vladimir already, so he was just in a bad space. Actually, once finding himself a skirmish in this top river over a scuttle crab, does get out, and that's going to be the end of that. I did properly learn to say it is a Rift Scuttler.
It is.
Yes, it is. I was judging myself for calling it that for so long. Scuttle Crab, Rift Scuttler, both now accepted nomenclature. We'll take it. And that saves me a lot of trouble. Quite happy for that.
Yeah, we were an educational stream here.
Yeah.
And CJ are showing Burning Core how to play the early game right now.
Right.
Normally it's Once who's the guy that really does have this early impact on the game. Sat at 0, 1, and 0 on the Lee Sin. Not normally what we see from this guy's early game champion. It's definitely been Yoshi getting the better handle on this game so far.
He did try a couple ganks and couple skirmishes onto Arya, but it never really pulled out. And like, it's not exactly the easiest lanes to gank in some ways because he's got a GP who doesn't have real CC and that much real CC into a set. He's got a Vladimir who's got pool into a Victor who maybe you can put a gravity field down and hope.
And if you go on towards the Zyra and Rakan, they turn onto you and kill you a lot of the time.
Right, so it's quite hard for him to find ganks. He's almost had been in that counter gank mindset, and it hasn't really worked out so far, I don't think.
Not so far. Obviously, he does have the kick and his flash available right now, and this Herald is being started up at 16.5 minutes in. This could be one of the turning points of the game, as any of these early game team fights can be. These Heralds can change the state of the map quite large. There are 5 members from CGA around this now.
Yeah, and the Burning Core are kind of knowing this might be a moment when they let the gold lead get way too far, but it's already too late. Yoshi has got that Rift Herald, and that mid lane tier 1 suddenly looking like a juicy target. That or the top lane tier 1 is Arya pings is on the way to that top lane, and CGA just clear out the mid lane and run away for now. Trinity Force at least in for Gangplank, who's looking a bit stronger.
It is. But when we're looking at the CGA lineup, you know, they do scale very well into team fights. That is the S word. We try not to use it too much, but they're going to be very strong in the mid and late game. CGA have somewhat faltered in the mid and late game before, even with some compositions which are lent towards it. They lost with an Azir, they lost with the Silas, with the Magi's, with like 20 stacks and all this other stuff. They've lost some of the team fights which, you know, you would have touted them to win. But this has been a return to form in the early game at the very least. I want to see if they can hold it up for the entirety of the game. Arya is in a position to do a lot of damage on the Vladimir. Has himself up the Proto Belt alongside his Sork Boots and 40% CDR with the Transcendence active as well. He's got all the cards in his hand.
He does, and I want to give a fair amount of praise to Yoshi as well in this early game. We've kind of called him out a little bit before in some other games about sometimes getting caught out, sometimes having the weaker earlier games. Yeah, but yeah, both players in this game have looked really, really good. 3-0-1 for the Jarvan, 0-0-4 for the Rakan. Both at 100% kill participation.
Grendel's here too.
And this is looking a bit risky for Rayfark, who's getting showstoppered. You can't orange everything. He's now in so much trouble. And that Haymaker claims him just at the end. Cataclysm is ward hopped away from, but I appreciate the continued aggression.
Ray Farkey, this guy is the man that we do try and talk about when it is Burning Core with the carry pants on. He's died for his first time this game. It is currently a perfect game for CGA. He has not had a fantastic laning phase versus the set. He's survived, that's fine, but we do sometimes expect him to even get a CS lead in that kind of matchup. He's just died in the side lane. That doesn't bode well for the Gangplank.
It really doesn't. They're going to get a Rift Herald charge in mid lane, but Burning Core are here to defend. It won't be the entire turret, but it is on like a sliver of HP as Arya takes the top lane tier 1.
Oh, so they're still winning across the map.
And Burning Core have got to be very careful because now with the Cloud Drake spawned, and this will be the 3rd Drake of the game, we are on that Cloud Rift. Cloud Soul Point will be on the line for CGA if they can secure this Drake.
Will do. And I think both of these teams do quite like the Cloud Soul. I think that Rakan really likes it for his engage. Aphelios and Victor want it for their... Oh, we see actually, hold that thought.
He's got to level up on Rayfarki, and Gangplank can't stop the dive. Can he stop the death? Oh, and he does get it. 1v1 kill for Arya on this Vladimir. This man is already a monster. It's not even 20 minutes into the game.
League of Legends is a team game. You might not be able to 1v9 every game, but you can certainly pull out a 1v1 versus one of our other MVP candidates for this split here. 1-0-3 on the Vladimir, commits everything to that fight, and comes out with a hefty bit of gold alongside it.
And who stands against the Vladimir in a side lane at this point? Maybe the Victor, but it's not going to matter all that much as CGA pick up the mid lane tier 1 as well. They're 3 turrets to none. They're 6 kills to none. They are 3 Drakes to none. The only thing that Burning Core found is a single Rift Herald, and even that's only 1 for 1.
It is. However, they still have the Victor on Perfect Hex Core. They have an Infinity Edge and a Triforce on their other carries as well. If a fight does get clumped up into their AoE damage, they can still win a fight. This game isn't over yet, but at the tune of a 6,500 gold lead going up towards a 7,000 here, it's pretty large for CGA. You know, they definitely have the winning odds here. Don't get me wrong.
And where bigger is that discrepancy than in the bot lane. That is two items to one.
Oh, he's going in again.
He's going in, and Rocky's in so much trouble. But Burning Core, everyone else is here. TP, but it's going to be a 3v3 because Once is here as well. Nap is looking for the showstopper that pulls him out of the Chaos Storm. Rocky flashing away, but it's not enough. He goes down. Gango's fighting a 1v1 onto the Aphelios. Once is here. He's going to try and trade back onto Gango. And the flash behind, but the kick is only going to go away because Gango responded. He's going to go back onto Once, who has to flash out himself, just about surviving. Ray Farkey is here. I'm not sure he wants this one either. The Zaya is going to chase down towards the gangplank as, yes, the dunk came through for Jarvan, claiming the life of Once. It's now a 3-for-0, and Baron is on the line. CJ looking to try and start it. Proud is here, but I'm not sure he can do other much apart from throw some poke.
So the dunkening finally works out for Yoshi here. Sat at 4-0 into a breakout performance on the Jarvan here. Has himself the early game advantage, has himself the mid game advantage. And with this Baron, they're going to be looking to even further exacerbate that.
You're calling this an early game advantage, a mid game advantage. This might just be an end game advantage because I don't think we're going to be seeing too much more of this game if the pressure continues.
I think I have to agree with you. As we said, this is on course to be a perfect game. So, once again, one of the carries, the solo laners of Burning Core, finds himself in a solo lane versus Aria and thinks that, oh no, that might be a mistake. Has 3 people on his side of the map, but just doesn't respect the ability to teleport and the ward advantages that CGA find themselves. Yuhi takes a dangerous path through his own jungle. Gango is there and does solo him out. Ult traded away from Gango for wants his ult there, and then he just kind of turns around the fight, has the Nimbus Cloak to have the extra move speed to try and chase him down, and then, of course, turns around onto Ray Farkey for the second bit there, and, of course, the dunkening comes through from Yoshi.
Cataclysmic is indeed the word for CGA's performance this far. They have utterly destroyed Burning Core thus far. They're not out of it completely yet, but it is now nearly 10,000 gold in the lead.
It's huge.
And they've got a Baron buff, and we've talked about it before. Who on earth stands against some of these carries? Set has found amazing flanks. Arya has literally run people under their towers, and Gango just 1v2'd, like both the GP and this Lee Sin. They're struggling to find any way to stand up against these members when they're split apart, never mind grouped together.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, this might be the most dominant game we've ever seen from CGA this split.
Yeah.
They are 9-0 at 23 minutes. They haven't really shown any inroads to try and deal with themselves. You know, they haven't shown too many weaknesses. They're coming across good performances from every member. That's not something we always see about CGA. They're crushing this mid-inner turret at the same time now with the Baron buff.
Yeah, and Rocky is walking past Yoshi, who's found his way into a bush behind thing, and yeah, that Moonlight Vigil missed. Just keep your eyes on this Jarvan. Look at this Vladimir, who are off to the side, and Burning Core desperately walk away because
16,
they have no idea what anything. Be afraid, be very afraid. The Dunkening part 2 is just around the corner. Here comes Jarvan, and doesn't go around.
Wow.
I was so excited for that, and it was like, no, it's instead just going to be pushing it onto this tier 3.
At the same time, we see that the Hemoplague was used by Arya, trading away a lot of his HP bar for a tower dive there. Doesn't end up getting the kill, but it will be extra pressure. He doesn't have the teleport to reset, but he will have the Hemoplague, not the Hemoplague, the transfusion to keep himself topped up.
Yeah, but that 1v1 kill pressure is probably alleviated for now.
He's level 16 though. That's a really short cooldown.
Big time. It's about 30 seconds after this Baron buffs. They'll have a couple more waves as CJ step forward to try and take this mid lane tier 3. Burning Core desperate to hold on to it. They don't quite. Oh, they do. No, it finally goes down to minion autos. And Arya still pushing upside, up on the top side. And the top lane tier 3 does stand, but on a sliver of HP itself. Cloud Soul is on the line in 10 seconds. CGA looking to either go straight there or maybe reset and end up at that
So here's a terrifying thought. How many times... So we saw that 1v1 with Gangplank Ray Falcon, and we also saw it with Rocky. The flash had to be committed from Arya to kill off Ray Falcon, but then the heal had to be used from Rocky to get away from it. What happens now when Vladimir's running at you with the Cloud Soul movement speed buff? What happens then? There is no way you escape that guy.
There are so few champions that abuse the Cloud Soul in the way of Vladimir can. That extra mobility for that champion.
He runs phase rush for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And that Vladimir's weakness has always been finding a way into teamfights. He has no dashes, requires the TP flank, requires the protocol. Something used to run Ghost, right?
Yeah,
used to run Ghost Flash. So that additional movement speed buff, you've told it could be an utter nightmare. Look at that gold
graft. 11k gold lead. That's an 11k gold lead.
Behold Mount Olympus. Arya and the rest of CGA are climbing up to the hallowed realms of playoffs and leaving the mortals of Burning Core a little bit in the dust right now. It's not looking pretty for Burning Core. Is there anything they can do right now to try and find their way back into this game?
Normally, I would say you wait for a turnaround team fight, you look for the AoE and stuff, but I think that if even one of the carries survives from CGA, you're looking at a really hard team fight. And they are both pretty hard to remove. You have the Feather Storm from...
we see a kick onto Yoshi over the wall. He has got the flag up and doesn't get it shut down onto the Jarvan, who picks up the gold. Gango looking to run down once. There was nothing out. Does have to stopwatch, but the barrels do keep this Xayah away. Found a pick. Arya now taking a fair amount of damage as well. CGA got their feathers all up and ruffled there. Finally, a kill on the board for Burning Core, and it is onto the Jarvan, not the Jarvan, it's onto the Jarvan who gets the kill, but it's Victor who claims the gold was what I was going for, and that's pretty big. Temper Fate does go down, but Arya's going in 1v5, does so much damage to Yuhi, who's on no HP, and this inhibitor going down, but Gango's going for the kills, he's going for the end, both carries are dead.
Going for the damn game!
It's a nap in the backline, killing off the Bard, and Gangplank is being run down by this set. This game looking like it's done. Kills be damned, they don't need the Jarvan here to finish it up. Vladimir finds his way into a backline. Gango flashing forward with a Feather Storm. And welcome to playoff CGA. It's a pleasure to have you. Commiserations, Burning Core. Not enough this time around. 12-1 is the final kill score. It's 27 minutes on the clock. It's so much gold. It's nearly a perfect game. CGA have done it.
Well, this is good. This has been quite a short day at the office here for the LJL officially unofficial cast over here. Finishing off, as we said, in 27 minutes. CGA are in playoffs. Masked Swan. We're going to do our little post-game analyst thingy now. What did you make of that game?
Well, that was, where's this CGA been? Where was this CGA from, like,
this is week 2 CGA.
This is like week 2... Bit of week 1, week 2, week 3 CGA. Where was this CGA for the last few weeks? I'm glad to see a return to form from all members. Yoshi having arguably one of his best game ever on this.
His best game in the split. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And what a time to turn on. What a time to wake up. This Zyra Khan duo was a beautiful bot lane duo. Honestly, GG, well played to Crest Gaming at commiserations, as we've said on cast, to Burning Core. They tried, but it just didn't kind of work out for them. But wow, what was...
As much as we are elated for CGA, I mean, Arya has been such a delight to watch, as has Gango. We saw him flash forward multiple times. Grendel had a great game on his Rakan. It's a very different champion for him, and that's something which I will talk about on podcasts and stuff, because I think it's very important that they show variation in their support role. This game was a standout performance from everyone on CGA, and then we have to talk about Burning Core as well. Ray Farkey has been arguably the top 1 or top 2 top laner in the LJL. This guy has carried so many games for his team. He couldn't do that today.
No.
Rocky also had a good scaling performance on the Victor, but you know, there's only so much you can do, and the whole map is kind of falling apart around you. They weren't enough today. They will have to look at this off-season between them spring and summer splits and see where they can make fixes.
Yeah, and it was pretty even on the top side of the map. We talked about Lee Sin struggling to find lanes to gank. Wasn't a problem for CGA, who the bot lane kind of ran over that a little bit. They got massive CS leads. There was that really good back that left the Xayah on a BF sword plus Cull versus just the pickaxe from Aphelios. Found that big tower dive where the Temper Fate was a little bit early, didn't stun up the set.
I don't think that would have changed much.
Well, probably wouldn't have changed much anyway, right? But either way, it's just like those little things add up on top of each other, and it meant that they got the double kill there. They got out clean, even with the collapse from Burning Core.
Aphelios was never a factor.
And yeah, it meant that they got snowballed from that bot lane, and when you've got two sides that scale and one scaling faster, and boy did CGA scale faster, Burning Core kind of ran out of options.
It is worth noting that Rocky actually did the most damage in this game, dealing 15k damage to champions from Victor.
Considering the timer.
You don't expect that much damage to come through, and also you have Ray Farkey still dealing 11k, almost 3k more than his counterpart of Nap. Well, that is just phenomenal to see.
But if you look at like the other, I would imagine if you look at the damage from the members of CGA, the damage they did would have led to kills. It would have literally been like you can chunk
100%.
that up at the full HP bars, whereas the damage from the Victor and from the GP, that's going to be like a sliver of a HP bar. It's going to be like half a HP bar from Vladimir, who heals it up in one transfusion
Right.
in Emo Plague, right? And Arya had a lot of HP to go through. He didn't die that game.
He
It was
didn't.
only the one kill onto Yoshi where he did get caught out a little bit by once there, fortunately denying them the perfect game. But what a game from CGA, right?
It was beautiful to watch, and it does raise your hopes coming into playoffs. If this is a CGA that has figured something out, woken up even. Maybe they sleep and now they wake up, and now that they've woken up, is this going to be a sign to say, oh, CGA are now a top 3 team again?
CGA have always been a threat. That's one thing we can always say.
Well, no, they weren't though. For week 6 and week 7,
yeah,
they weren't.
The last 2 weeks have been very bad from them.
Yes, but my point being, they've always had the threat of someone like Arya popping off. There's always been that risk of Gango finding a carry or picking up the Draven and popping off. Have they looked clean in the last few weeks? No. But there has always been that underlying possibility. We never said that CGA could never find their way back to form. We never said, does this team have
They have the
options
star
in
power.
their roster?
They have
That star power. And I think, we've talked, like, there is that old adage which goes, form is temporary, class is permanent. And the form hasn't been great recently, but I do think that Arya and Gango in particular have a lot of class. And we kind of see it every now and again. And the problem is it hasn't been consistent, particularly in the later weeks. And yes, we've seen it look a little bit poor at points, but we know this team has got these monsters lurking if they ever do wake up. So yeah, I think teams do have to be afraid of them in playoffs. Do I necessarily expect it to be consistent? No, but I will never write this team off.
And this,
I think that's the way to put it. I just want to say one more thing, really, because obviously now that this game is completed, we were talking about the playoff picks, right? Because V3 is sat in 3rd position and they get to choose their opponent. We thought they would be choosing the winner of Burning Core of CGA. They are 2-0 versus both those teams. They are 2-0 versus CGA themselves. This is still scary though. If they have to choose between them and Axes, maybe they now have to think it's no longer a shoe-in choice. Now they have to think, all right, okay, what do we do about this?
I mean, I think you still pick Crest in my eyes.
I think based off
one
of, like,
good
the
game
that
doesn't.
they've had that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't base it off of one good game and go, oh no, we pick Axis, and then you're like, oh yeah, we'll play against the people who are arguably the best in the series outside of maybe DFM at drafting. That sounds like a smart idea. No, you take who you're 2-0 already against and go, we know their number, we've already done it, let's just run it up again.
And even if we've seen Yoshi step up a little bit over the last week or so, I also think that V3's big win condition is Boogie. We talked a little bit before about his monstrous Echo KDA that's at like 21, I believe.
Yeah. 3-0, 21 KDA.
And if you're thinking about V3 and thinking, well, we win by snowballing real hard, real fast, and a lot of that is through our jungler, you want to find the matchup where you can snowball against the opposing jungler a little bit easier, maybe. So I would potentially say Yoshi versus Hogler. I think Hogler's been more consistent. I would still go for CGA, I think, even if the solo lanes of CGA can be a little bit terrifying, or rather the mid and bot lane particularly.
Okay, I probably would still go V3 because they've been looking on form these last few weeks, and there's a lot.
I completely agree. I think V3 win, but I do think that,
I think now we'd have a series.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I think that if we came in and it was a bit of a scuffed match between these two teams, and like, okay, right. We've often seen Boogie kind of take the other junglers to town. Yoshi has not always been the most confident jungler. This game was a good standout for that. That's one of the reasons I'm like, okay, if Yoshi is no longer, well, if he's playing at this kind of form, what does that mean for CGA as a team in specifically the matchup versus V3, where even way back when like CGA were like 3-1 facing off V3 for the first time, looking like one of the better teams in the region, I said V3 can very much take a game off this team because they have jungle difference. And they did, right? And it happened again in the last week of the split. V3 just, it was a fun game. That one, in fairness, it was a fun game. But V3 have been rolling over the second half of this last couple of weeks of this split. If it came down to a best-of series, I still think it's going to be a V3 win, as you said, but it still has to be a choice now.
Oh, yes, no, it would be a very competitive series between those two teams. And we will be coming back with those playoffs shortly, but it is going to be well over a week until we actually get to that
we get a
playoff
break.
series. We get a break. We get a week off where we don't have any games of the LJL. We will be probably doing a delayed stream back to our old ways until we get to those semi-finals and finals where we.
It depends on schedules. Today it worked out.
Today worked out beautifully because it was 7 p.m. over in Japan, which works perfectly for us because we're like, that's 10 a.m. UK time. We could wake up and do that. That sounds great for
4 a.m.
us.
is a little bit more risky.
Yeah. I normally awake at that time because I'm a student, but yeah, not tending to be being active at that time.
No. Active is very different. I do want to pass it over to you, Initializer and Nymera, for any closing thoughts going into this and how this split has now come to its conclusion. Any thoughts regarding it?
It has been a bloody split. It has been a split of upsets. It has been a split of expectations that we didn't know we had to set. And a lot of what we had coming into the split has been upturned. Some of it has stuck, some of it has not. And we've ended up with a pretty good playoff roster, I think. And these playoffs are going to be very exciting. I think whatever predictions we get, whatever the stats may show, I would be very surprised if there wasn't an upset or two. Because these teams have been so close throughout the splits, that preparation has changed these teams around so much. People seem like Axis, with more preparation, have looked better and better. We've seen CGA with moments to brilliance pull out things against preparation, and like this could get really close in the playoffs. I don't expect easy wins for any of these teams.
And what a journey it has been for us as a casting crew too, as well. You know, we've been here casting through 7 weeks. Obviously, they're not actual weeks, but we've been sat here for a while now. We've cast every regular season game. We cast the Tiebreaker as well. It has been a very different experience than I thought it would be. I thought that we might see a lot more Duff games because the LJL is touted as a slow region, and we could see some proof of that coming in from the last couple of splits. It's been really exciting.
Oh, it has.
There are a lot of teams which are not necessarily like at the level of DFM, but they're still very exciting to watch. V3 up there as one of the most exciting ones. CGA with their montage reels as well. Even the measured play of Sengoku and Axis towards the end of the split, when they look like they're just so focused and keyed into what they need to do to win, have been so fun to watch. It's sad that we do miss out on 2 of our teams in Burning Core and the Hawks. Both of them have also had some very fun games as well. They didn't make it this time around. They'll have to prove themselves in summer and rise back to the top of the standings if they, as they did at some points in this spring split. And yeah, I've enjoyed every second of it. Well, maybe not Sengoku V3. Actually, maybe not that one. That was.
What I say? Have you forgotten?
Yeah, that one was pretty bad. But I've enjoyed doing it with these guys. I've enjoyed being part of the little community we built up as well. We have our little Discord running. If you want to go see that, it's somewhere in video description. Come find us. Come talk to us. Come flame us. It'd be great. We're also on Twitter and all the other stuff. Come talk to us. It's been really fun. We'll join you for playoffs.
Well, with all of my hosting duties taken from me, I will just call it and say thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll see you very, very soon. Take care.